Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Love and Marriage Detroit. This is season 2, part B, episode 8. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. Also, you can subscribe, you can share, and leave your comments below. Let's get into this episode. Okay, all right. So, some stuff happened, but kind of like old stuff keeps piling up from season 1. Seems like some people are just one trick ponies, and I'm just like, what? Why? But anyways, I think it was a good episode. So, we are with Brandon and Christina. Brandon and Christina visits Brandon's mom. They seem to be doing a whole lot better at this point. They're working on being better in their marriage. Christina says or gives accolades to Brandon that he's stepping up and doing what he said he was going to do. Brandon also says that because of how Christina is moving and being a better wife, that helps him to be a better husband. I think that we kind of were clear as to what Brandon needed to work on, but weren't clear as to what Christina needed to work on. As far as I can remember, that would have been discussed in season 1. As far as I can remember, but I don't know. But anyways, they're better. They have date nights. Brandon's mom helps out a lot. So at this point, they're over there with the children, and Brandon just asks, how do you like daddy being back home? Britton, I think she is the oldest one, says that she's glad that daddy's home because they don't have to come all the way over here, which is grandmother's house, to see him. And Bailey says that I like it that you're back in the house because I can cuddle with you. I think I've seen in the comments someplace someone saying, why are they involving the children? They're involving the children at the maturity level that they're at. Those children aren't crazy. Daddy been gone for this long. We got to explain something, and they explain everything at their level. Shutting people out and trying to act like they just aren't seeing what they're seeing and not feeling what they're feeling is quite crazy. Let's just be honest, and at their level of understanding, tell them what's going on. Period. Yeah, both are doing the work. They speak with mom a little bit, thank you for holding us down during this time. Christina is she has a new respect for her mother-in-law and is ready to get into a more newfound relationship with her. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, like the in-laws weren't getting along with Christina. Because I think the brother does not get along with Christina, if I remember correctly. And I don't think that there was much of a relationship with the mom. The mom isn't the nurturer type of person. It doesn't look like she does reach out, but it seems like there has been breakthrough in the relationship, as we saw in part A. I forgot his mom's name, but it looks like something has changed. Christina is getting back into music. She's nervous. It's not so much about singing; it's about performing, and we'll get more into that later on this episode. Brandon does ask, it's not about if you have the musical gift, is that are you dedicated to actually bringing this forward? We move on to Colby. She's at her home. She's doing some content creating, and she has a photographer there. She is going to be representing Sam's Club for their dinner, not utensils, pots and pans and stuff like that. Latoya in her confessional is like, it brings me back to when Colby was showing me different things about content creating, and basically she says, I hate it. I pay people to do that. She checks in with Colby. They talk about what's going on with her. Obviously, we can tell that there is a strong bond between Latoya and Colby. At this point, Colby's having a lot of pelvic pain. This one, she feels like this pregnancy is kicking her butt. She's not as active. And then Latoya said, I believe you are. You have a toddler around here. So you're doing what you can at what life is being handed to you. So also the baby is pushing up in the canal. And she's finding herself being overly emotional, basically, and she'll cry over if you somehow have slammed the door too hard or shut the door too hard and things of that nature. Latoya gets into how she feels about being a parent. She feels like she has to be the main parent, while Anthony gets to be the fun parent that they can just run to and all that good stuff. And then she says, I do so much, as she starts crying, for everybody. And sometimes I just wonder, what about me? And a lot of times I just check in with the children, and it just seems so robotic. And Colby was also relating that to that also. Um, she had questions, possibly does she step back from her career? And if she did step back, would they actually appreciate it? I just think, I think women, mothers, wives are very depreciated because we're so told that this is your role. And I'm gonna say this also. I think men get that too. It's just your role to be the provider and protector. Your role is to take care of the home, be the nurturer, do this, do that, take care of your husband, serve your husband, da 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 da. Be a mother to your children, do this, do that. It's like we treat marriage is a business, of course, um, but we treat it like we're going to our jobs, and not something of a, how can I say this, delicacy or specialty, or something that you're putting your heart and soul into. And it's just kind of like this is your second job or something. You go to your job, and then you come home and just do a job per se. And I can't say it's just this generation because it's been passed down for so many generations. You're told you need to get a spouse. You're told you need to have children, and this is how life is prepared. And then when it's all said and done with, how much have you enjoyed of what you have created as far as family? That means family amongst a wife and husband, family amongst children. It does become kind of just like, and I think that at least the leaders of the home first got to make sure that they are taking the responsibility to make sure that each other are appreciated. But it could go a long way. And then you also make sure that your children appreciate you, and you appreciate them also. Spread the love. And again, we can go through life or go through our day-to-day schedules and not really realizing that we are still dealing with people, humans in our day-to-day lives, that we need to make sure that we are loving too. But Latoya says that their daughter Ava kind of really wants Latoya's attention a lot of times, and wants to touch her and all that stuff a lot. However, when Latoya is feeling her lowest, Ava's right there and is able to lift her spirits back up. And I'm sure Latoya knows this, but I'm just saying this to say this. Ava is a prophetic sign to Latoya during those low moments. And she's a prophetic baby that's really been sent by God to help restore your strength in those times that you need, Latoya. So, whatever your self-doubt or depreciation is, that's your prophetic baby. We move on to Star Factory. Now, I'm on Instagram and I watch a lot of Brandon's content for Star Factory. So I'm used to a little bit of how he trains, or becoming familiar with how he trains. Of course, he's just doing vocal coaching, and Christina's got all these weird looks on her faces because she doesn't know what's going on. I mean, right now he's just doing vocal exercises. Brandon said, as he's seeing all this happen, that's it for the day, and we'll just do performance. Christina has anxiety about performing. She would rather just perform music and then, record music versus the recording and all that good stuff. He was talking about the logistics or the fundamentals of performing. You're going to have to show presence. You're going to have to do body moves, all that good stuff. And definitely don't want to make you feel some type of way, Christina, but a lot of things could come naturally, even if this is a problem. Breathing and all that good stuff, and making sure that you're hitting notes right while performing is exercise. That's one way. So, since Christina really wants to get into this, they're going to be committed. Brandon said, I'll be committed. There may be a time where the children are not going to go to sleep at the same, like probably an hour later, if we got to do this at home. I was like, okay. Brandon does say that there is the dog in you, but I need you to wake that back up. And I think that is really Christina's issue. She's been laying dormant forever, and her gift is calling her out. She needs to grab a hold of it and unleash the Christina that's supposed to be out doing what she's supposed to be doing. Colby and Russell, they have their grand opening of their gym. There's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Colby says that she wishes or hopes that now Russell will be present a whole lot more. The men do have a conversation. Russell talks about having a second baby. You know, he feels some type of way because in the first baby he was the doting husband and father of the unborn. I forgot their daughter's name. But anyways, he was there all the time. But now this time I'm a lot more busy and I can hardly be there for her and all that good stuff. On the other side of the gym, Christina is planning this staycation for all the the couples. And also they want to plan some type of surprise. I think it's a surprise, baby sprinkle. I guess they don't call it a baby shower after the first child. I didn't know that, but hey, I've never been pregnant. I haven't gotten anyone pregnant. So I don't know anything about that, but I will show up to a baby shower and have some baby shower food. Come on, Rotel dip with nacho chips or Doritos. We need our meatballs. Come on. What else do we need there? We need our potato salad, possibly. We need it all. All those little intricate foods that need to be there. So that's what I'm on if I go to a baby shower. So that'll be done while they're at the staycation. Kimberly's in her confessional was like, as they're talking about, Latoya was impressed that Christina was going to do this. Kimberly in her confessional was saying, I planned a baby shower for Christina years ago, and she ended up being there 2 hours late, and she's got some PTSD. Now, she said it in her confessional. I'm not sure if she's going to say anything to Christina's face, but we shall see. I don't know how I feel about that. I like Kimberly. Not that there's any excuse, really, to be 2 hours late. Dealing with the fact that Christina was pregnant, was it her just being arrogant and not really arriving on time, just being rude, or was there something as even her delaying her getting ready to get there? That's the only thing that I would just question. I have no problems with Kimberly feeling how she feels. I hope that, at least on Christina's side, that there was some valid reason as to why she would be 2 hours late. Just saying. All right, so this is the part that gets really messy. And I'm just looking at two of the cast members like, why are y'all doing this? Bravo and Brandon. Bravo has a new restaurant. It's a restaurant lounge that he's building. That's what more he's into these days instead of like just building clubs. And it's not up and running, but it's still under construction, and we're seeing the construction being done. And Brandon likes it or loves it, and Bravo says, I want to bring Anthony over. And Brandon said, oh, when you bring him over, he's going to mention what he has done in his life. Bravo chuckles about that because he knows how true it is. I think Brandon more takes it to heart as to how it is, and then we get this montage of Anthony saying what he's done and all this stuff. So I don't know what that is. It feels like sometimes, I'm not saying all the time is that way, Anthony, but it can seem like you need to kind of state what you're doing. I don't know if it's competitiveness or in some type of way someone has devalued you and you want to make sure that you get the respect that you believe that you're owed. I don't know in regards to that. Then they talk about Marcel and the apology. Brandon does not feel that Marcel was genuine in his apology and all that good stuff. Bravo's really saying that he's good on it. Like, I think he did, the apology was owed and he did it. And then on the flip side, Anthony's talking with Marcel and they talk about the whole apology thing. And he said, I did apologize before. I did not understand why I needed to apologize again. Anthony feels that Brandon is influencing Bravo. Bravo isn't really like that. To play victim, because that's what Brandon does. I forgot, how did Brandon are you threatened by Marcel? And Bravo's like, no. And Bravo said that he even understand how Marcel was in the moment of being called out in front of 8 people and all that good stuff. So Marcel was like, look, I know what was going on. I was not about to just drag my wife out there to make her feel embarrassed and disrespect my wife in that way. They were having something going on. And I know that they're trying to do this show without telling us that this is a show. So I know that Marcel's like, well, this is for entertainment, so why y'all tripping? Basically, I feel like that's how what he's saying. Um, the question was asked to Marcel, or not asked. Anthony says to Marcel that I think that he was threatened. You know, Anthony said, Bravo and Brandon is doing a lot of D sucking. I said, my God, for real. So there's gonna be a lot of issues, and I feel that Brandon and Anthony were being messy and sowing seeds of discord, trying to get something started between Marcel and Bravo when it was just some disruption at the restaurant. It wasn't bad in that way. I mean, there was no glasses broke, nobody fighting, nobody had to be dragged out of there and all that good stuff. It's just like, leave it there. But y'all are too busy trying to, whatever Brandon and Anthony have going on with each other, now you're trying to be puppeteers to other people to kind of attack other people that you're more closer to, which is very immature and it's very deceptive to me from what I'm seeing. I still like y'all, but I see what I see. They talk about Lakita. This is Brandon and Bravo. He's not staying out that much with the clubs and all that, but when he does, he does. Apparently, when he goes to different clubs, there is some girl that's sitting up here that goes to each club that he goes to. I said, oh, and Lakita is very aware of that and other things that are going on, blah, 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 blah. Brandon was like, well, why don't you put on your location? He said, well, I'm not doing that for anybody. At first, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Bravo, I don't know if he explains, but at least I have an understanding. It's like, even with me doing that, it's not really going to help her. She has PTSD from when her father passed away. Because if you think about a location, having it on, what does that do for you? Because even if the location's on, anything could be happening to him at the same time. I can get how it could be effective, but it can't be effective. Just because I see that your location is here don't mean that I really know what's going on. So it's not that efficient for Bravo to actually do, to know his whereabouts. If I text, the best thing to do, I text you and I'm going here, da 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 da. How are you, da 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 da. If she answers the text, things of that nature. But all right, so the Dobines, they go to a lingerie spot and they're looking for lingerie to spice up things in the bedroom. I had some thoughts because I was like, okay, so you doing all this? He got this type of kink with Batman and Catwoman and all that stuff. She said I could whip out my whip. And he said, oh, I don't bend over. I said, okay, so you're one of those type of dudes. Like, I get it and cool with all that. But then I thought, okay, so Kimberly, you're getting lingerie to spice up things in your relationship. So what does Marcel need to be wearing? Because why is there something that needs to be done on your behalf to spice things up? Only. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just going by what the storyline is telling me right now. I need to get lingerie. And he wants to be there to pick it out and all that good stuff. And that's cool. I love that type of relationship to do that. But then there's like, okay, what are you going to do, Marcel, to turn on your wife? Because if you're the one that's just getting turned on and then she performs all the tricks for you, what are you performing for her? We know you got the anatomy, but there should be more, at least for her, to grab a hold of whatever kink or fantasy that she has. I think it's just time out from just trying to do things to please the man. Not saying it's like that. I just know how the mindset and how things normally do go. So, Marcel, let us know what type of costume you're going to be putting on, or the type of lingerie you're going to be putting on to let your wife be more attracted or turned on to you. I think that's fair. They talk about the staycation. Kimberly's like, how do you feel about that? Marcel said, look, I can adapt just like water. I'm cool, Kimberly says that she's cool. I'm not trying to be any drama. Look, our staycations is just no drama and all that good stuff. She says that, I think that me and Christina are in a good place. We just have some trust issues. She thinks that the drama is done, but she is cautious because she don't know what's going on. It is cool to just take baby steps. If y'all just done doing whatever y'all need to do, you hashed out everything, cool. All right, so finally, Anthony's podcast recording with Christina. Christina has brought along Brandon and Chelsea. Brandon demanded from Christina that he be there, or pursued to make sure he was going to be there and Chelsea would be there. Brandon's under the impression that, look, I need to be there because anything could go down with Anthony. They don't trust Anthony not to be messy, I guess. So Brandon sits on the couch. I don't even know if Anthony knew everyone was going to be there because he was, I think, I don't want to say he's thrown up off by it, but of course he had something in regards to seeing Chelsea there. Christina says that she's her brand manager and I'm going to need her. She's going to be stepping up a whole lot more, especially when she starts doing a lot of her music stuff. So this is no disrespect to you, Christina. And it's cool that you have a team. It just seems like it's very Beyonce-like. Because if you're starting off your team already like this, and the way some of your team is coming in, nobody's going to want to work with you. And we'll get to that in just one second. They get into Christina's musical background as the recording begins. Basically, it's family lineage. Of course, all of her family is in the church, and they do what they do, singing gospel. As far as relaunching her career, she's 42. How does that feel? Having 2 children, basically 3 children with Brandon and all that. I said, Lord. I know it was just a little fun shade, possibly for the podcast, or still his way of taking a dig at Brandon. I don't know. But y'all can be the judge of that. Anthony did ask, what genre was she going to sing? Anthony's personal suggestion is to sing gospel because that seems to be where her voice and all that is. Christina says she's not really sure what she wants to do as of yet. Then all of a sudden, Chelsea jumps in. She does not know, and she's not going to be saying it today. I have no clue why she needed a representative to even jump in at all. If you don't know, you don't know. So what are we doing here? So that just didn't make sense to me. So the podcast filming has ended and all that good stuff. So Brandon does tell Anthony, the next time that you have a podcast, next time you have a request for Christina, you're going to have to get in touch with Chelsea. I feel like all of this was a setup to be messy, in my opinion. And Anthony said, I'm glad that I got my interview over with. And Brandon said, oh, there will be more. She's got more stuff going on. That don't mean that he's inviting her. I don't know what was going on. Brandon started taking some digs, but then Anthony starts saying stuff like, Christina is your biggest artist. Brandon took that as shade and says to Anthony, it looks like you're just downplaying my work by listening to Christina as his biggest artist. I do understand how much a fan you are of Christina, but you should be a fan of LaToya because he's been hearing about the corpse and the wine that they sell and all that, and it's not really doing anything. Anthony says, oh, we're doing stuff. I said, oh, okay. I think that they got that line in retail stores. I forgot which stores they are in, but I don't understand why LaToya and Opulent is taking a stray. That's just my thoughts, and I just don't get it, So Chelsea starts yawning, and they're like, oh, why are you yawning? And she said, I'm bored. Are you cold? And then he said, well, you can get the heat in the car outside. And then it got more amped up for no reason whatsoever. Anthony was feeling some type of way, and he finally just spoke what he needed to say in regards to Chelsea being here. He feels like he's been disrespected. And Brandon, the last time we talked, we weren't going to be doing all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And Chelsea, she gets up and starts talking about what was disrespectful today. Brandon, oh, well, any other time your mouth is open, I think Anthony is trying to handle you differently. And you think, brand manager, that you can do all this extra stuff and you will actually start hurting Christina. Of course, you got a personal vendetta against Anthony. We get that. Are you going to be acting this way to other people? Chelsea, at this point, you're a one-trick pony. And you're quite exhausting. You're carrying on this feud back from, episode 3 of season 1? I get it that you're probably enjoying this camera time, but is that all you can offer, even as a friend of the show or whatever that you are? That's quite crazy. You sitting up here just still clashing with folks. For what? For what at this point? Be the brand manager and stay over there. If Christina, the talent, needs you, she'll call for you. That is crazy. Anthony ended up saying, because he first just wanted her to leave, and she acted like she wasn't going nowhere. So she said, Anthony said, okay, let me show you what I can do. Are you calling the police? Like, yeah, Christina, oh, well, if she goes, I go. They came with me. But you knew what they were going to be on when they came over there. So I think Anthony was trying to be as professional as he could. I also think that he could have been a little shady in regards to the one comment about Brandon, but that was that. I don't think he started anything, but hey, that's to each its own. I guess it's going to continue next week, I guess, as far as whatever happened here. However, Chelsea didn't need to be there, or Chelsea needs to learn to just accept her role back there in the seat. If there's something that needs to be addressed, cool. But there was nothing to be addressed. And it looks like the Smiths wanted to be a little bit dramatic or a little bit messy and all that. And they're just kind of helping to throw the rock and then hiding the hand. That's how I felt. But anyways, y'all can let me know what y'all thought. I did like this season. Just Chelsea, I'm tired of seeing you. You got to come back in a different type of capacity because this is not it. Because we keep seeing the same thing. If you can show us something different, I would be a lot more happier to see you on my screen. But if you're going to keep doing that, get out of here. All right. So please let me know how you thought of this episode and this review. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Until the next one. Peace.